Here we go.
Hi, and welcome to a really special Christmas-ish edition of Booktopia Live. I'm Ben Hunter, Booktopia's fiction category manager, and I'm just so thrilled to be here with this guy, or this guy on this side, Trent Dalton. How you doing, mate?
Oh, Ben, it's so great to be here, mate. And I couldn't think of a better way to kind of wrap up my year, mate, than having a chat with you and with the amazing sort of community of Booktopia that's been, huge this year, helping so many writers get their books out, to the public. And so it's really cool. But oh man, I'm really good. I'm in that kind of Christmas. I love Christmas. I'm a bit of a Christmas nut. And my kids are happy. They're on holidays, and life's not bad, man. Life's not bad after a bin fire of a year. Right now, at this time, right now, it's all pretty good.
That's so excellent to hear. My heart is just warm just to have you on the screen again, because I can never get enough time to chat with you. You've got so much to give. Before I rip into the formalities, I want to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from my living room, which is on Gadigal land, part of the Great Eora Nation, and I want to pay respects to traditional owners, to Aboriginal people, past and present, emerging, not just on Gadigal land, but to wherever you're tuning in from. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Trent, it's such an honour to have you, and I want to let anyone who's watching know that you can ask a question. Trent's just here for you for an hour. He's all yours. And he's the most.
This is all about you. It's all about you. I want to hear all
that. So anything regarding his life, his writing, his work for the Oz, his journalism, or his two novels, Boy Swallows Universe, and the incredible new novel that I'm going to ask him some more about, All Our Shimmering Skies. If you've got anything to say to Trent, you want to know anything, just jump in that chat, and we're here for you. He's here for you. I've just got so much to ask you, Trent, because we did like a podcast together in a very similar format, sort of staring down the laptop screen at one another, months and months back, when this book was finally about to hit after so much waiting. And I had this enormous list of questions, right? And I got you going, and you just talked, mate. And I was staring at this list of questions over here, and I was just watching you kind of address them one by one without even me getting close to you or prompting you. You were just on fire. But there's so much more to say, and this has been such a wild year, right? First question. I'll shut up in a second. I want to know.
I love it. This is great.
In this year of social distance, Trent, how have you connected with your readers over this book?
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a great question, Ben, because it all comes down to them. And my great fear was, I am such a ham. Like, it's shocking. Like, I make myself sick when I talk on any of these things, because you're right. I just can't shut up. But all of that is, for one, it's a nervous energy. It's my compensation for I'm actually sort of quite an introvert. Like, I know it probably doesn't even seem believable, but I really am. And then I have this kind of thing whenever I'm on something like this, I just ramble and I'm trying to fix to a point. But also there's this deep kind of thing for 20 years where I spent my life going into the living rooms of Australians and as a journalist, and I would ask them if they wouldn't mind telling me for 3 hours, 4 hours, every last secret of their lives. And I always promised myself, I swear to God, Ben, the pact I made when I would sort of go to bed at night, and sometimes it would be awkward, like I'd worry about what I'd done with those stories, these beautiful gifts that people would give me, and I always told myself, look, if ever the shoe's on the other foot, and I'm the storyteller, I'm the guy who's telling some yarns, or I'm the guy sharing, then they get everything, like they get the best of me, or whatever I can give, in kind of a well, as far as I can go without hurting anyone, and as honest and as truthful, and and that's just the pact. That's sort of a journo pact that I made with myself, and so hence why you just have to ask me one bloody question on it, and I'm off, because it means a lot to me. It means a lot that all you wonderful people out there would even bother tuning into this, So, all right, the deal is, if you do that, then you get every aspect of me, and then when I look back on a year like this, okay, well, yeah, man, like if I can be on something like this, and maybe here's how connected is that I was like that all through it, and it's shameless. Like, it's just, I want to reach in and just like grab everyone and go, hey, thanks for coming, and thanks for, and that's what I do. Like, if I do a book event like live, like in person, and then and it happened. So you should have seen it when in Queensland we were finally allowed to do something in person, mate. I was just breaking bloody social distance, rules left, right, and center, just going up and just hugging people, and it's ridiculous. I don't know if you've heard the story. I don't know if I've told you the ridiculous story of last year. I was at the Sydney Writers Festival, and I was with Matt Condon, and we were talking about Boy Swallows Universe, and 600 people. I was so touched. What happened? There was a fire alarm in the middle of that talk, and I was just, oh no, I was devastated, because I thought everyone was just going to go, and but all these beautiful people came back, Ben. They came back, and when we were allowed to go back in and finish the show, I was so touched that afterwards I went out of the auditorium and I went into the signing area, and there was all these lines of people, like 90 people strong, lined up, and I just started randomly hugging all of these women who were lined up in this line at a writing desk, and I thought, oh, they're there for me to sign their book, and I just randomly started hugging them, like, thank you. I can't tell you what it means that you came back from that bloody fire alarm. And then Matt Condon, the brilliant Brisbane journo / novelist who was doing the Q&A with me, he taps me gently on the shoulder, and he goes, that's the line to the ladies' toilets. They're not here for you. And but what I'm trying to illustrate is that, man, I just appreciate it. I appreciate it. And it's like sort of this thing comes out in me, this monster comes out that can't stop talking or thanking people. And so I just tried to do that over the year, Ben. That was, I had to do it through Zoom and through Google Teams and through Be Live and through all of these amazing sort of these ways that we were able to do it. But here's my theory. Don't even get me started on this, Ben, is that here's the theory. All we learned, right? All we learned, here's the thing we learned, is that nothing matters but the ones you love and the ones you want to talk to. And that's what this year's taught us. And all we really are, us human beings, are just people who want to gather around another campfire. And that was us, millennia ago. And we found the ability to tell each other stories around a campfire. And what this is right here, man. This is just a campfire. You and I are just telling stories around another version of a campfire, and it gets me very inspired, when I think about that. And that's what we found, is that all that matters is talking to the ones you love and making sure they're okay, And I thought that was very beautiful this year to learn that. And that's all I saw any of this stuff as. It's my chance to have another campfire. Yeah, man, just have a campfire chat with like-minded people, mate, who just, someone who might like a yarn like this one, and it's just like, that's great. I'm more than happy to talk about that if you're into a story like that. And it's like, man, so you get every bit of me, And so, yeah, anyway, so look at us, that's only one question. We're 10 minutes in, man. So, but that's what I took away about connecting.
Do jump on the comments. We can field that as best we can. But Trent, you're so right. And you're pointing to something that I've been thinking about, right? Because I listen to interviews with you, and you've always got these great stories about people connecting to you over Boy Swallows Universe. And it's been going on for years now. And every time someone else comes to that novel, right? That novel that is so close to you and your own story becomes a little bit less yours, and it becomes this group shared thing. This storytelling, this campfire thing we're all doing, we do that because we want to get this thing away from ourselves. these things we're holding in our heart.
Wow.
But we also get so much back, right?
That's really insightful. Yep.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what you're talking about, mate. And with all our Shimmering Skies, it's come out in this year when there's just been this layer of distance between you and the reader. But now that it's finally been out there, and it is a bestseller, it's a Booktopia bestseller, and I'm so thankful for that because it's a ripping yarn. How has that story changed for you now that it's not just yours?
Mm. Oh, Ben, that's such cool thoughts, man. The cool thing about what you say about how a story doesn't become yours, the person who predicted that first off with Boy Swallows Universe was my mum. My this incredible mum of mine, who's the kind of central figure or a central figure of that book, and kind of this warrior human who survived a lot of shit, man, like a lot of stuff, and probably 10% of which I only put into that book, and inspired completely the character of Frankie Bell. But I remember mum reading that second. She was the second person to read it because I sent it to Catherine Milne at HarperCollins. And then I only sent it to mum because Catherine Milne said, this is going to go somewhere, Trent. And I didn't believe her still, but then I said, damn, I better go send this to mum. But mum had the wisdom, and she's a wise woman. She just phoned me up, a couple of days later after like marathon reading that thing. And she said, Trent, go for it. Go for it, bloody heart and soul, hell for leather, because it's bigger than us. Like, don't think about it as you worrying about how much I've given of myself for all that. It's just you will. And she predicted it. She said it will become not yours, and you will be able to live with it because it's not in the end your story. Like, it's sort of weird. Like, it's like what you've said has just hit it on the head so well. And these things we do as writers, you don't know what they are until someone's read them. And that was the great thing about, for example, the difference between me talking to you now as opposed to when we first chatted, when I was like just this nervous git, just, really hoping that people would come on the journey with Molly Hook and All Our Shimmering Skies. And man, now I'm still a nervous git always, but now knowing that journey of Molly Hook has actually really touched people, and they have said some really beautiful things about it, and then they have told me what the book is even about. So I go into these little fever dreams, these bouts of fever for about 4 months in the writing of it, and you come out at the other end and you go, oh man, I did it, and I'm really proud of that. Like, I'm proud of it, and it's something that I hope I know that deep down someone might read it, but you don't know until someone comes up to you or one of these things and they throw it in a chat and they go, hey, this meant this to me, and thank you for the story of Molly Hook because it reminded me of my mum, and thank you for fleshing out the character of Aubrey Hook, that totally nasty villain of the piece, because that actually reminded me of the men I've grown up with in Australia, and thank you for writing about Yukio because he gave me hope, and thank you for writing about Greta because she represents she represents women of the 1970s, even though she's in the 1940s. For me, these are people saying this. She represents women of the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s who struggle through against all odds and against the horrors of love and love gone wrong and still survive. And, so, man, these people are telling you these things, or they'll send you this really lengthy direct message on Instagram or Twitter, and I get back to every single one of them and what I say the same thing. I'm like a bloody cracked record. I say, please know that those thoughts are going into my third book. It all builds. It's like a freaking wave, man, and it just builds and builds, and it's this thing that fights the doubt. All of that stuff just helps you fight the doubt and the self-doubt and your imposter syndrome and all the things that this bloody head will tell me on a daily basis. From the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed, this head's telling me all sorts of stuff I don't know what to believe, and I shouldn't believe always. But then the reader will come in and go, hang on, here's what I thought, and you can believe them because they don't have to say it, and it's a really beautiful transaction. So hence why the reader's the most important aspect of the book. Most important, always. And yeah, so it's just been massive this year to sort of get that out there to people and then get that back. And then we did a signing, a live thing in Brisbane, because we're lucky we can sort of do that stuff, and it was so beautiful to do the stuff where I get up and go, hey, thank you so much, because what you just said is kind of makes it all totally worthwhile. And I know it's a cheesy thing to say that, oh, that comment makes it all worthwhile, but it's bloody true. Like, it really does. When someone says that stuff, it's absolutely deeply personal and moving. Yeah, it's great.
Talking about connecting with readers, I want to ask about your connection to Darwin and Litchfield National Park,
Yeah.
and the territory,
Mm.
and the wealth of stories up there, and how that's been so formative for you as a journo and as an author. Um, Tell me about
Yeah.
your experiences there, and tell me about writing this love letter to this different place that's so far from Brackenridge.
Yeah. Well said, Ben. I mean, that's why I went there. It was so far from Brackenridge. Like, it's like I'd spent sort of about a year and a half by the time I was really thinking about diving into that world of Molly Hooks in 1942 World War II. I'd spent a year and a half talking about some pretty dark stuff from my version, my 1980s, my early 1990s, my own kind of story. And I just need to get away from Trent Dalton. You know, it's just like, just over the guy. Like, it's just freaking. But the funny thing was, and and when I say that, I I'll never want to get away from that kid Eli Bell, who's at the center, because he's a better version of me, and he sort of. I love that kid so much because he doesn't have any of the other excess baggage that I have as a 41-year-old version of essentially Eli Bell. But the cool thing that happened is that I ran away from Eli, and I ran away from Trent and bloody all this stuff and the past and all this stuff, and went back in time and went up to Litchfield National Park, which is profoundly affecting on a landscape way to me, and is pretty much my favorite kind of landscape place in Australia. And first time I ever hopped in a plane, I was 20, my first journalism job. They flew me to Darwin, the first place I ever went outside of Queensland, and pretty much outside of anywhere kind of other than Southeast Queensland. And that was going to Darwin, this place that hit me with absolutely all five senses. And that's how I like to write, in terms of smell and touch and feel and all that beautiful sort of stuff that you can shape into a book and compress, and then hopefully get to that amazing sixth sense, which talks to us about things that we don't understand, the sense. And I don't mean the spooky sense of the sixth sense, but I mean those things like love, and why, Mark, who's doing the tech for this, loves his 7-year-old daughter, and where that all comes from, we don't know, but it's a place. And the way we get there in writing is by giving all the details and putting it all together, and suddenly we elevate it to some place we don't understand. And that's Darwin. That was Darwin for me whenever I saw it. And then my brother was in the army. He had a kid up there. I'd go visit, and we were both into military history, and I'd start exploring the role Australia played in World War II, and the role, incredibly dramatic role, the bombing of Darwin had on the modern Australia, but also the history of Darwin, and how it's the birthplace of multicultural Australia, the Indigenous connection to this land, the 60,000-year connection, and then I'm just okay. And then basically I have this moment with Boy Swallows Universe, and I start traveling. There's some really intense feelings around that book, because my late father, Noel, doesn't get to read it. The poor guy died of like emphysema, and he never got to see his younger son's, novel. And that guy lived for books as much as you do, Ben. And I mean, you imagine having a kid and loving books as much as you do, and then that kid grows up and freaking writes one, and that book gets put on the, that amazing Booktopia factory line, and it's going down those conveyor belts at Booktopia on its way to people's hands across Australia, in the same box as bloody Hemingway and bloody Tolkien and Geraldine Brooks, who my dad and I shared a massive crush on. And, so these amazing things. So I go to Darwin and places like that, start looking at the sky, and I go, Dad, are you seeing all this? Are you seeing this stuff? I'm getting emotional. Bloody Christmas time, man. Don't get me started on him. But, and my missing him, and sort of having him watch over my shoulder at every turn as I'm writing this stuff too, and it's sort of feeling him, and then going, oh, that's cool. I'm talking to the sky and thinking that he's up there. And I wonder if everyone does this. Is this just me who does this? And no, maybe not. it's just a series of events. And then I, go to Darwin. I walk through Litchfield National Park again because I've got this idea for a story about this girl named Molly Hook who feels she's cursed and she needs to go into a place not unlike Litchfield National Park, but it's kind of Oz. It's a bit more like Oz that Dorothy walked into. And then I meet a woman named Tess Addy who runs these incredible Indigenous cultural tours through Litchfield National Park. And I just say, Tess, will you help me out? I want to go into your neck of the woods, that land that is your place. And will you let me see it the way you do? And she goes, yeah, come on up. And, and we spend time together. And then the next phase of that, Ben, here's the cool thing about doing these books and then putting them out there. Then I go to the Northern Territory Writers Festival, like last October, and I can invite Tess, and she's sitting front and center, and we're under literally the shimmering skies of Darwin, and I'm just making shout outs to the world like a goofy douchebag about how everyone needs to just walk with Tess through Litchfield National Park at least once in their life, and everything comes full circle, and then you got people coming up to you at Darwin, and they're going, man, thank you for writing about our city. And it's the most amazing. It's a city that wears its storytelling on its sleeve. Like the actual history of Darwin is all through that town. Like the rubble of old buildings is still there, and the bloody anti-aircraft guns are still there, and the and the Indigenous history is just so in your face. It's part of the whole DNA of the place. And anyway, so by the time I come back to Brisbane, man, I'm incredibly inspired, and so you just go, all right, I just got to put all those feelings into these fingertips and then put that into that book. And, so that's and hence why it reads like a bloody, intentionally, like I did want it to read like you are literally going from black and white Kansas and Dorothy's taking you into Technicolor Oz. And that was an absolute intention. And because that's what it feels like for me, it feels like that when you go from Brisbane up to Litchfield National Park. That's what it feels like. I feel like you've stepped into Oz, and that's a really cool feeling.
Yeah, there's people actually on the comments thanking you. Trisha's thanking you, saying, "Wow, great desire to visit the Northern Territory. Thank you for sharing the magic of that place.
Thank you,
incredible
Trisha.
land.
Thank you so much, Trisha.
If you have a question for Trent about any of his work or about anything, and you're with us live, you're so welcome to write a comment. He's here for you.
Yeah,
on Booktopia TV Live.
Answering anything.
That'll come back to bite you. Speaking of gifts,
but the cool thing about
Bill, you with me?
No, you go, Ben. You go. Yep. Yeah, gotcha.
Sorry,
you go
for a second. I was just going to say we've got this beautiful question that's come in as well. Comes from Trent. Sorry, no, you're Trent. Comes from Mark. Mark says, "Hi Trent. Question about Boy Swallows Universe. You came up with one of the most classic opening lines of a modern Australian novel. Where did that line come from?" I'll also add that the opening line on Wash and Skies is equally amazing. How did it evolve?
Thanks, Ben. I love
it evolved through a lot of drafting and editing. Is Mark's question.
Mate, thank you, Mark. That question is brilliant. And look, it's such a great question because it's at the heart of the whole story. And I genuinely, this is no joke, and I'm sorry to get a bit sort of flighty. I genuinely believe I'm kind of bullied around by the universe. And that, if you sort of see my life, I'm 41, and I swear there are things that have happened, Ben and Mark, that just profound, just bizarre, and kind of you cannot, and it gives me chills on a daily basis, just how thin the knife edge is of me going down one road and down another, and that terrifies me. Don't even get me started about the fact that I meet my wife and then become a dad and have the kids that inspire the books, and but the freakish chances that have to, and all the million and one things that have to take place for me to meet Fiona, my wife, are just beyond words. You can't even put it into words about how crazy that is. And so my point is that when the universe or whatever it is starts talking to you, I do try and listen, and the words "your end is a dead blue wren" man, I could almost vividly remember sitting at my. I've got this there kind of rumpus room. It's my. It used to be my kids' rumpus room, but they're like 13 and 11 now, and they're just doing like whatever, TikTok and stuff now. But they used to actually play with stuff, and that used to be sort of a shared office rumpus area. And I'm down there, and I'm writing a piece for the Weekend Oz mag, and all I'm thinking about is this book, this coming out of me that I feel ready to write. And then this line comes, and it's like, your end is a dead blue wren. It's like, where am I going to start, right? You're always thinking, where am I going to start? And well, just pause, and then what? Like literally, like, what the hell was that? Your end is a dead blue wren. And when I worked out what the hell that meant, I had the book, and you don't find out what that line even means until the last kind of sentence of the whole novel, and I loved that. And then so you work out what that means, and then you reverse engineer the whole narrative, and you go, oh, brilliant, yeah, that works perfectly. And it's built around the idea that a child, and it's certainly a story of my life, will find meaning wherever he or she can get it. And if a kid like Eli Bell needs to find meaning in that blue wren, and meaning in that blue line, that blue wren line, then he will find it. And there's a lot to be said. We don't even really know. It's not confirmed in the book that that's indeed even what his brother Gus is writing in the sky. So it's Eli creating his own mythology, and that reflects the way Trent Dalton created his own mythology to process the really wild and sometimes troubling things that might have happened in the 1980s and early 1990s. And so it absolutely spoke to so many things that I was trying to get at in the book. And yeah, once I figured out what that line is, Mark, it just, the whole book came. And similar to the title of the book, Boy Swallows Universe, it's like, what the hell does that mean? And as soon as you work that out, then you can you've got a theme. And and that theme, incidentally, has become the absolute lesson that I say if anyone ever asks me at some school or something, what do you feel about life, or what do you feel about getting through this crazy thing called life and the dark times and all that? I just say, swallow it all. Swallow the bad stuff that has happened to you, and swallow the good stuff as well, because the bad things will not be your destruction, if you don't let them be. And so, I know it's saying, and that's a tricky thing to say too, because I don't begrudge anyone succumbing to the bad things, and there's every reason, a million reasons why someone might. But I do try and say, just let them be your making. Let them be the making of you. Let that dark stuff be your creation. And then that has become, it's no coincidence that I'm working on that theme in All Our Shimmering Skies. There's basically by the time Molly meets this kind of mythical sorcerer figure, he's just a man. He's just an ordinary man. This guy's in the bush, but she's built up this guy, Longcoat Bob, in All Our Shimmering Skies, into this figure built up largely by the whispers and rumors of the white people in town. But the guy, if she meets him, and when he's got one thing to say to anyone, and it's carry all you own all you carry. Own all you carry all you own. And it's, man, and that's the story of my life. Like, that's just that's just the most profound for me. That's all life's about. Just own every part of where you've been, where you come from, where you're going. Like, that's an Australian history lesson. Like, Australia could learn to own the mistakes of its past and let them push them forward in a better way. And you can apply that lesson to your marriage. Like, I can apply it to when I'm a douchebag to my wife, and I can immediately go, oh shit, I'm sorry, I'm a dick. I'm going to own my mistakes and let that turn me into being a better husband. And then, but also, in my life, it means, own my own story. And the minute I own my own story, Ben and Mark, sorry for the long answer, Mark. The minute I owned that story was the minute really, really good things started happening to me. And I owned it in Boy Swallows Universe, So it's like, there's a lot to be said for that notion. So yeah, man, thanks for the great question, Mark. I really love it. It's really cool.
It's such a beautiful way to begin. And I kind of contrast that with All Our Shimmering Skies. There's an immediate magic to that novel, but there's such a
Mm,
darkness too. There's a morbidity. You begin
mm,
with epitaphs.
mm.
Tell us about uh, your
Yeah,
relationship
yeah.
with epitaphs, and how you got into that morbidity of that dark beginning.
Mm. Oh, it's so funny. I mean, there's so many elements. It's like so many elements, Ben, that my wife reads about that when she's reading that book, and she's like, what's wrong with you? She's like, what's wrong with you? Like as in, like, it's so dark, and but yet there's for me, I find all of that stuff just beautiful. I just find it. I don't find. I don't find darkness something to be afraid of. Just the same way I don't find sadness something that we should run from. Like I'm just telling you before. Like I miss my old man at Christmas time. Man, I'll be in that. I'll be freaking drinking a beer to that guy and wallowing in my sadness because I'll own that sadness and that's how I remember him, and that's him being alive in my grieving, my even you know what I mean. And if that comes every Christmas, great, And there was I tell you, and this is I don't know whether it is this sort of inner morbidity that I have, but maybe so, and it's the reason why I probably like Robert Smith songs, and I like Leonard Cohen songs and Nick Cave songs, and let me tell you, I used to in my day job as a journo up here in Brisbane, I would go to jobs around across the city, and for the longest time, if I was cutting across to the western suburbs, from the city to the west, anywhere in the western suburbs, I'd often have my lunch. I'd have like a Vegemite and cheese sandwich in my lunchbox, and I'd go and take it up to really famous Brisbane cemetery, Toowong Cemetery, and it's as peaceful and as beautiful location in Brisbane as you could ever find. And I'd go up to, there was this monument to this old governor named Blackall, and I'd just have my little bloody Vegemite and cheese sandwich and just think about all the epitaphs that were surrounding me. And you just learn so much about life from an epitaph, and you cannot get caught up in the nonsense about life if you've spent an hour inside a cemetery, and because it's just so bracing and so inspiring. Like you just you learn so much about life when you're looking at a family and who's a row of like a family set of gravestones, and you see this whole story of a family. And oh man, I mean, there's a nonfiction book I want to write, and dead set, and I'm seriously going to do it if I get the time. I'm committed to writing some novels, as it turns out, some fiction novels, but there's still a massive journey. Yeah, I know. There's a massive journo in me that still, will always keep that open. That kind of world where I want to do this book where I genuinely just go up to people gently at like Toowong Cemetery and just like gently tap them on the shoulder and just go, hey, I'm sorry to bother you. My name's Trent Dalton. I write some stuff, and I'm just wondering if you could tell me about the person that you're here to visit, and tell me about him or her. And I'll sit, man. I'll just listen, and you've got my undivided attention for however long you need, and you can tell me the story of that person and why that person was so important to you. Maybe do that 16 times, and I might have like a pretty interesting, I mean, that's all Our Shimmering Skies is about. It's about, no doubt. I mean, listen to me, like, I'm processing probably, no doubt, me missing my old man inside that book, All Our Shimmering Skies. I mean, Molly's just after answers about why her mum went, and but along the way, she gets some great wisdoms about how and why the lost aren't ever truly lost, and we keep them alive. How? Through the greatest freaking invention us humans ever come up with, storytelling. And our indigenous, Longcoat Bob knows that in the story, and why do you think they were doing their campfire histories for 60,000 years? They knew as well that the greatest thing we have is storytelling, and so it's sort of, that's the whole theme of the book, and it's so great, Ben, that you even asked that question, like, what's your feeling for epitaphs? Better writer than me, Geraldine Brooks, has said it before. She wrote that amazing book, Year of Wonders, which, my old man passed on to me, back in the day, and Geraldine Brooks, to write that book was walking through all these European graveyards, and she has this great quote, and I had it up on my mood board. I've got these mood boards whenever I write any of these things, and they're incredibly inspiring, these mood boards. But sometimes, I believe in the images that you can look at, and the power of turning images into your words is really cool. But the great thing, sometimes you've just got words up there, and I had these words from Geraldine Brooks, which was, "Don't be afraid to see dead people," and I thought that was so cool. It's like, don't be afraid of it. Just like, yeah, man, open yourself to it. And I think someone like Molly Hook, which is why I love her so much, she's not afraid to see dead people, and she's not afraid to do really, really dark and morbid things, which is in that book. In the early stages, where she kind of reacquaints herself with her mum in the most macabre way that I actually find deeply beautiful, but my wife just thought was completely twisted. And but it's that difference between how you look at death and the ones who are lost. Yeah. But sorry, I'm getting in the way of some beautiful questions here. So thanks so much, you guys. I can see the questions coming through. So don't let me ramble on too much, you guys. I'm bound to not stop.
Get on the comments and get that live. Trent, I'm really thankful I've got you here. I've got to ask about this personal journey of writing of yours and more. And I know you've already gotten a little bit emotional just talking about your dad, but the more you talk, I feel like when I first heard about Shimmering Skies, it was going to be this new novel, and it was going to be set in the 40s in wartime Darwin, about a grave digger's daughter. It's just so far from where you began with your fiction, right? I thought this guy's trying to do something different. This guy's trying to get away from it. But the more you talk, I feel like you're just getting closer to that core of who you are and this baggage you're carrying. And then I'm thinking about these different elements, because Voice Boys Universe is this beautiful book in which you tap into that secret magic that you've seen that comes from your brothers, the Dalton boys, right? And you're doing the same thing again in this novel, right? All Our Shimmering Skies. But you're also tapping into this new secret magic, which is your own daughters. And they're still children.
Man.
They're still with you. They're still being magical day to day, right? So I'm just feeling like I want to know how all these layers are coming together for you, and is this emotional journey for you a bit of a moving feast?
Oh, Ben, I just love the way you talk, man. It's so, and you know what? You're the first person to say anything about the fact that, like, I'm getting closer. Like, I just love that you say that, like, because I really do feel that, and now I'm really just starting to realize, like, why I'm doing this, like, and the next thing I'm writing is, again, I can't not go into these places and learn about myself by writing about people, the kinds of people Dickens was writing about in his industrial era London. I'm writing about in Australia to kind of learn about me. And man, to be honest, Ben, I could not do anything in life. Like, I'm so bad, man. I cannot even build. Like, I'm so bad at putting a tent up, and I'm so bad. Like, we've got some like, I think it's like wood rot coming at the bottom of our bathroom, and I was like, man, I'm done. I don't know where to begin with that. And but what I can do is thankfully I was gifted to this one thing. This one thing, which was to kind of just to tell a yarn, and to tell it in these different ways. That at first it was to tell it in a kind of journalistic sense, in these long form yarns for 20 years, and what a freaking gift that was for me, Ben. And don't get me too emotional, man, because I swear to God, like, I'd be a drunk. I'd be drinking bourbon right now, man, at 41, I reckon. I had no doubt about it. And it's just that the universe decided that Trent Dalton gets to be an okay person at just forming a couple of sentences. And that's huge to me. So I get to then spend 20 years processing all this stuff that's happened at a really important age in my life, like 12, 13, 14, 15, and it goes on to about 18, 19. And that's formative times. And I can't believe it still baffles me that I got the ability to do it in that way, in such a powerful, cathartic, right way, like a good healing kind of way, not through bloody whatever drugs or whatever I might have chosen to sort of do it through. And I'm very profoundly grateful for that. And I do feel like I'm on some sort of inner conquest, man. And hence why at first, that first book, absolutely paying tribute to my bros, and going, hey, look what these boys helped me get through, and hey, look what this mum of mine got through, and look what this dad of mine got through, and look what these rogues, these bloody, one was a killer, Slim Halliday, who I knew as a kid, look what he gave me as a gift in terms of wisdom. And look at this guy who's basically the guy Lyle, who went away for 10 years in real life to Boggo Road Men's Prison. Well, look at the kind of love that guy gave me and all these important things that I'm working out for myself, as I'm typing them out downstairs and coming to these realizations. And then the same thing with all our Shimmering Skies. When my daughter comes home and says, Dad, you wrote that book, Boy Swallows Universe, about two beautiful boys, Eli and Gus Bell, but you're a father of two girls, Dad. Why don't you write a book about two beautiful girls? And it's like, damn, Sil, that's a really great idea, and I should be doing that, because what am I here for? It's not for me to sort of spend the rest of my life, maybe it is, processing all my stuff. It's also to inspire those girls and to kind of show them the power of holding on to your magic and in the dark times, and that's an incredibly important kind of journey that Molly goes on, and an important thing that I wanted to get across. And yeah, man, but like, I still feel you can write about all that stuff in Boy Swallows Universe. I can put it in All Our Shimmering Skies. I can talk about it till the cows come home. It still doesn't mean you've lost any of the emotion that is stuck down in your stomach because of the things you've seen. And I'll be writing from those little boxes that I stuffed down inside myself for many years to come, Ben. I think it's what I really do think it's what I'm here to do, and I need to honor all of those moments and honor this version of myself that I'm really proud of, which was my 12-year-old self. That kid would, like, I'm so complicated, and all sorts of stuff came in, and ambition came in, and kind of all nerves and all this stuff came in and ruined me as a, like, but that kid at 12, though, that version of me at 12 was a cool kid, and I need to honor that kid as an adult and go, yeah, man, all right, I know what you're going through. I'm going to keep writing about it. And, and it's kind of, that's really sweet. I like that, and I think that's really powerful. And I think it's a real honor that I get to do it, So, yeah, but yeah, man, I don't think I'm any, I'm what I'm closer to. I'm closer to, obviously, the things we all knew, the things we all know. Love is the most powerful thing we have. The people we love are the ones that will always get us through. And there's always hope. It does get good if we can just hold on for as long as we can. Yeah.
Daniel's in the comments, and he's written a brilliant question. Daniel writes, "Hey, legend, you're the legend, Trent. What research do you do to write the periods you've written in?" I'm running about 1940s.
Daniel, you're the legend, man.
That's a big kettle of fish, right?
Yeah, the first thing you do is go to Booktopia, get on Booktopia, and order every book you can on World War II Darwin. Like that honestly, like, it's when sort of places like Booktopia come in handy. You know what else I got through Booktopia? It's really cool that I'd be talking to Booktopia. I ordered through Booktopia the most specific like university text, just based entirely on the monsoon vine forests of Darwin, and I wanted Molly to strictly walk through the monsoon vine forest, and this text was done by brilliant Australian botanists, and Booktopia had it. It was unbelievable, and you guys sent it to me, Ben, and it's one of the greatest texts. Assisted the writing of that book. Go back there, of course. Go walk through Darwin with a woman like Tess. It's informed by visits to Groot Island as a journo. It's all now. I know I'm actively thinking about this story in my head, right, in the lead up. So I'm actively looking for stories that are up that way. And I found this incredible story. A man named Buckler. up on Groot Island, an Indigenous man who's been afflicted with this horrendous neurodegenerative disease named MJD, Mikado Joseph disease. But Buckler, this legendary, charismatic man who looks like freaking Steve McQueen, and he's got the charisma of Steve McQueen with the kind of the voice, the sort of poetry of flipping Oscar Wilde, the way he talks. And he starts telling me about how, some of the magic that from the bush, he's now sending down to Sydney University scientists to help find a cure for his own disease that's afflicting him, and incredible research in terms of just wonder, just you're trying to access wonder, but how do you research wonder? Where do you start? You can't just look it up on Wikipedia, you got to go find wonder physically sometimes. And I went and I knew this book was going to be filled with some landscape kind of natural Australian wonder. So, I actively took every friggin' gig that I could in the past 2 years that involved me getting out of Brisbane. And I went to Uluru and slept in a swag under the stars with some dingoes across a fence, bloody waking me up each night. And then I went to heli hike the Flinders Ranges, just taking every gig that you can that helps in that kind of form of research. And then, but research is such a brilliant thing. It's the journo in me, you just get stuck down rabbit holes and just dive deep. And so, okay, Greta Mays is this Shakespearean actress. All right. Freaking massive, big tome of, the complete works of William Shakespeare beside me at every turn, and just reading Shakespeare and reading about golden age Hollywood actresses. And then, okay, I need to read about, Aubrey Hook and Horace Hook. They're gold miners. Okay. Every book you can read about gold mining in Australia. And it's just this wonderful immersion. And I really mean it when I say a fever. You've got to be lost in the fever of it for about a year, and I found it really great to be lost. The cool thing about the next book I'm writing is the way I'm researching it is we'll be walking the streets and just stopping people. I'm going to have a sign on my. I've not told anyone this, but I'm doing this thing. I'm walking the streets of Brisbane, and I'm just going to have this sign that says "Good Listener," and I just want to listen to people's stories and just friggin' do that for like 7 days straight, morning to night, and just listen. And that will be the research for that one. And even though that's not a book, the book's not about a guy who goes out and talks to strangers, but every story that those strangers will tell me will inform the book I'm about to write, because I feel I really need to get out of the clouds and out of my own head and go really get gritty again, and kind of, so that will really help. And so it's sort of, research comes in many different ways, but oftentimes I know this as a journo, it often comes from just knocking on doors and just asking strangers to talk to you. That's a really, really powerful way to get inspiration and go anywhere. So yeah. Oh, look at you amazing people asking questions. Varney, Sarah, Trisha, Mark, Tracy, thank you so much, you guys. Any questions? I
want to selfishly ask a question of my own really quickly though, Trent. I feel like you're just addicted to this, addicted to that soul bearing, right? And that connection you get with the reader. And there's this high you get when you connect through a stranger when you're writing. And I feel dumb for using addiction and highs as the analogy, but
no,
is that,
dude,
I think it's fair. I think it's something that you've been chasing since you began as a features writer. And I want to know, where do you think that's going to take you as you continue that journey and you build up as an author? Because you're getting a bit of a profile now.
Yeah. The author thing affects the thing you're trying to do. Like I did a story for the Weekend Australian magazine, and it was built on a pitch I had to my editor where I said, I want to just knock on a series of doors in one street in Brisbane, and I'll tell each one of those people, anyone who tells me a story, I'll try and weave it into a matrix of storytelling where we link up each person in that street where they don't even realize, or just built around the idea that every person's got an amazing story to tell if you just sit down for long enough. And largely that often takes like 3 hours, and that's fine. But one really interesting thing happened. this incredible woman who kickstarted that story, Tracy Gregg, and the series of articles. You can get them on the web, like it's called Sunny Avenue, and I loved writing it, but it only started because Tracy Gregg, I knocked on the door and she goes, "Get inside, like come inside. I've got to show you something." And I went to her kitchen bench and she had Boy Swallows Universe, and she'd just finished reading Boy Swallows Universe, and there is a power to that where you've upturned what you were trying to do was kind of anonymously just go in and kind of document them, but suddenly you being the writer of that book has already upset the normal way of things. But sometimes it can kind of work to your benefit, because that was the book that got me through the door, because she said, "I know who you are. I know, you know, man, all my cards are on the table." And that's a really powerful place to talk from, you know, and immediately, here's the thing though. And it's so amazing, Ben, that you say this thing about, what am I doing? Like, listen to me, man. I can't stop talking. But it's like, and my wife says it, like, it's like, I did a lot of Zoom stuff, man. I did a lot of podcasts this year, and my wife is always just like, just stop. Just what are you doing? Why do you feel the need to, you know, one, I have this real problem with saying no. It's like it's terrible. Like, it's like, but also I do wonder if there's a part of me that it enjoys every second of it. I don't know. It's pretty weird. It's like you get a lot out of it, even though as much as you go to a live event or something like this and you go home or you go back to some hotel room and you're just like, oh man, what the hell was that? Like, what did I just say? But then there's part of you just going, it was fun. It was enjoyable. And I did get something out of it. And, you know, so what's it all for though? If you just write a book like All Our Shimmering Skies and then you never talk to anyone about it, or you never get to hear what anyone made of it, or that it moved someone, you know, like this is the moment, like this, Ben, is the moment where I realize, you know, and Laura asks a beautiful question and Sarah asks a beautiful question, you know, you're just like, well, that's the return, and that's the great reward. But then you go, yeah, is there a time where you just go, man, what are you searching for out of this? You know, like, you know, and doing all these. So it's really interesting. My wife asks me that all the time, and she has a theory that I am addicted. She said to me the other day, she said, like, you know, yeah, she thinks she's like, you're enjoying it. You're doing it all the time because you enjoy it. I don't know if it is, but it's a very insightful thing to say, man. And it's like, so where does it go? So then you go, well, where does it lead? Surely you can't like, I'm sure there's a reason why Tim Winton doesn't talk about his amazing books ad nauseum, because at some point you have to go back and be you and be not just the dude. Well, okay. Here's the coolest thing. So then I came home at the peak of talking about Boy Swallows Universe, right? Everything was going nuts with that book. And I remember my daughter Beth, and she I was just sitting on the couch and I started telling some bloody Boy Swallows Universe anecdote that I just told, you know, 6 times during the week. Just by not realizing my audience that and you know who I'm with, and this girl, man, she I'll never forget it. It was the most moving thing. And so I was trying to explain to her maybe some of the backstories of Boy Swallows Universe, and it's like, oh, hey, look, if you happen to hear any of this stuff at the schoolyard, or this is what that book's about, and it's important those girls know where all that comes from. And I've sat them down and done it in a lengthy way, but I was about to tell Beth this, you know, huge story, and then she just goes, and she could tell I was a bit sort of worked up to tell it. I was a bit worried about how it was going to come out. And this girl, she just grabs she does this. She just starts patting my hair like that. I was a bit hanging down, and she goes, "Hey, Dad, stop. It's like, you don't have to be that guy with me." And man, it was like, man, it's going to make me cry just thinking about it. But it was so freaking generous of her to say that. It's like, dude, all you have to be is Dad. You don't have to be storyteller guy. And, you know, you exist in our eyes without Boy Swallows Universe. You're not Boy Swallows Universe. You know, and that's a really important thing to know. You know what I mean? It can mess you up if you think you're just that. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you could get pretty messed up, I reckon. So it's that was an amazing gift she gave me, you know, and it taught me a great lesson.
Thanks for that really insightful answer, Trent. And
yeah,
thank
man,
you
that
to
was a
everyone
great question.
who's written a question. I'm going to get to as many of them as I can in the limited time we've got left. Laura wants to know, will All Our Shimmering Skies become a TV show like Boy Swallows Universe? When are we likely to see Boy Swallows Universe on our TV screens?
Laura, you are the best. And Laura Ben, I can see her name. I won't say her last name to protect her privacy, but Laura is one of those incredible people who sent me the most touching thing about All Our Shimmering Skies. And I love you, Laura, for it. It meant the world. And Laura, because of that, I am this close to telling you literally today the most amazing news about All Our Shimmering Skies, but I just can't because I'll spoil it, and I'll put the mocker on it or something to have this sort of, never preempt any good thing that is ever going to happen to you. You know, don't let the genie out of the bottle. But Laura, it's if I can say this, things are afoot, if I can say it like that, and really like big things. Like I mean like really cool, and there's something really exciting about that to me because, and look, I'll believe it when I see it, and but here's the thing about, I said the same thing about Boy Swallows Universe, and don't even get me started about how cool that's looking. Like it's I just thought, I was saying, I believe it when I see it, and next thing you know, Joel Edgerton, he's like, all right, well, it's happening. Well, you better believe it. And then just there's been developments on that just this week that are massive, and it's sort of and so you at some point you've got to stop being kind of like, I'll believe it when I see it, and just go, yeah, it's happening. And it's so some pretty amazing things. But the one I'm excited about is All Our Shimmering Skies, because it's a story that is quite cinematic, and it could be something really cool, Laura. And I'm so excited. So I hope it happens. And I hope, Laura, you'll know something real soon. And you know what? I'm gonna bloody text you or something, or get you on Instagram or something. I'll send you a direct message and just go, well, here's the deal. I'll give you the correct answer when I hopefully ahead of the rest of the world knowing. But it's it could be something amazing. Yeah. I want personally my hope for All Our Shimmering Skies is that Peter Weir, who I love, he's just amazing Australian icon. I'm genuinely hoping he sort of comes out of his semi-retirement for to do something, because I wrote it like a Peter Weir film. It was meant to be that, and it's sort of so it's so cool that that there could be some really cool stuff with that. Yeah. Sorry, I can't give more. They'll kill me. Like I seriously will be assassinated by powerful Hollywood figures.
We don't want that, Trent. How does it feel every time you see your work reinterpreted, even in just small ways, whether it's every time you get translated into a new language, you get a different cover. Or if the book comes out in America, you get a wildly different cover to the cover you get in Australia.
Yes.
And then you had that terrific play that was on of Boy Swallows Universe. How does it every reinterpretation of your work? How do you react to that?
I just about I really do, Ben. This is the cheesy answer, and I'll tell you the funny answer. But the cheesy answer, and it's true, is that I think about us boys, man, the Dalton boys, just treating bloody family ties. Yeah. What's that, man? What did you?
Oh no, you dropped out for me for one moment. I hope you with everyone else. Maybe it was just me.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Sorry,
I've
got you. No, I can hear you well. Yeah.
Good. Nah, you're
the magic of the internet. You people are so patient. But thanks, man. No, but I think about those Dalton boys and how much we escaped from whatever was going on through pop culture, and the funny thing, then you see these words that you've written about, like medium pace bowling and black bins and Jackie House singlets and bloody Kirk's Pasito soft drinks, and then you're seeing those words being translated into Hebrew or Polish, or and then you're getting letters, man, from some kid in Vietnam or South Korea, and it's pretty wild. Like it's pretty amazing, and you just go in this little very specific story connected, and so I'm all for it, and I go, please. What I ask is I sort of say, especially in the stage adaptation, and there's going to be this, it's incredible what they're doing up here in Brisbane, and I'm hoping it will come down to you guys, this thing they've done, because it's unbelievable. They're putting literally the universe on stage, the Queensland Theatre Company, and it's coming out next September. And it's like they're putting that whole, I know that it seems like, how the hell are you going to do Boy Swallows Universe as a stage play? But they've done it. Like they've worked out how, and it's going to be unbelievable. But all I've asked is just things like, don't make us Queenslanders all sound like we all talk like I'm going to go down the shop and get a packet of Winnie Reds and my fucking my carburetor blew up on the Holden Kingswood. It's like some of us read books and just because you can be in kind of a pretty rough circumstance up here in Brisbane doesn't mean you're necessarily sort of just a complete bogan and stuff. So that's all I've been sort of doing is just go, hey, can we just pare back on the bogan voices and things like that. It's just, but it's great. It's like it's unbelievable to see your stuff. It's unbelievable to see your stuff turned into different ways of storytelling, because as far as I see it, my feelings on it are is they turn out as that book, Boy Swallows, and same with Shimmering Skies. It turned out I was really happy with them both, and just going, that's the best way I personally can tell that story. And it's so exciting when someone says, hang on, well, let me have a crack at it. And I just go for it, man, because I'll just let me see how you tell that story. And, so it's deeply inspiring, and it's just more campfires, man, just more campfires, more storytelling, so it's, you can't stop it. You got to let it happen. And it's really great that it does happen.
Oh, Trent, you've come full circle, which is just perfect because we've just run out of time. Thank you to everyone who has asked the question, who's shared the love with Trent tonight and tuned in. And thank you, Trent, for your time, because you're just a legend.
Ben, thank you for the beautiful questions, and thank you all, Phil and Laura, Nicole, Varney. There's just all these names on the side there, and I can't thank you all enough. Thank you so much for reading both of those books, and yeah, man, Ben, and thanks for the support Booktopia has given all of us, mate, all of us writers this year. It's been incredible. So, like, I don't think a lot of Australian readers would have read our stuff, mate. If you guys weren't helping getting those books out. So, huge thanks.
It's such an honor to share your work and others. Trent, thank you for your time. If you're with us and you want to find more of Trent's work or more great books, go to booktopia.com.au. And from all of us, Merry Christmas and happy reading.